we need to talk about this book. Um, I'm slightly disappointed. I'm slightly disappointed with this fucking book. For people who don't know the background, Alien 3, the third movie in the Alien series, had a lot of problems with, I guess, like the bureaucracy of the filming industry. I'm not nerd enough to like tell you the details, but I do know that there were like a multitude of scripts that were out there, and the Alien 3 movie as we know it got made, and many people hated it because Corporal Hicks and Newt are buddies from the beginning of the movie, survivors alongside Ripley who escape on the Sulaco. They're dead. They're dead. And, like, our buddy fucking Bishop, he's not long for this world either. And the only person left is Ripley. And it's years later on, like, this weird-ass prison monk planet. And people really didn't like that. People were really upset about this movie. And I personally happen to disagree. I think the movie kicked ass. All the versions of the movie, because it feels like there's like two main versions of the movie. What I'm trying to say is a lot of people didn't like Alien 3 or Alien Cubed, however you want to say it, and that's why years later people can read some of the other scripts that never were made into the Alien 3 movie as we know it. And it looks like one of those famous scripts written by William Gibson ended up getting turned into a novel by Pat Cadigan, who's a great writer, by the way. I really like Pat Cadigan. The problem with this book is actually, I think, William Gibson's script. I haven't actually looked at the script, so I don't know that for a fact. It's just like a concept I have in my head. And the thing is it feels like the story is missing Ripley. That's what's wrong with this fucking story. There's no Ripley. There's barely any Ripley. She's like unconscious the entire story. The entire story you're thinking, okay, Ripley is gonna like wake up from her coma and she's gonna come back and save the fucking day. And no, that's not what happens. In fact, that's not what happens at all. And don't get me wrong, I love me some Corporal Dwayne Hicks. I think he's a great character and he's fun and he's interesting and even lovable. But he's not supposed to be like the main character. Like, it just feels wrong to have him as the main character. Like, I don't know. I just think it was kind of stupid. Like, it was actually really easy to get through like the first half because like the characters were interesting, but all of the interesting characters get killed off. All of the interesting characters get killed off so fast in this story that at the end of the story, all you're left with is like the most boring characters. And I'm not gonna lie, there are some like really cool characters that we end up left with. However, like Luke High from the socialist colony in the book, because it's kind of got this theme of socialists versus capitalists, and they're both like willing to destroy themselves in order to fight each other, which I think is a really interesting story. And like hypothetically, I would love to read that novel, but the way it's done in William Gibson's script was kind of boring for me. Like, more needed to be there. Anyway, Luke High, the Vietnamese military character from the socialist base, is like very interesting, but we just like don't get to see enough of her. Like, she comes in and saves the day at the end. Spoilers, by the way. This review contains spoilers for this book, obviously. And Luke High comes in to save the day, and it's kind of like a Ripley move, but the thing that we like about Ripley is that we know Ripley, and we don't really know Luke High. Like, we get a lot of like inner dialogue from Luke High at the beginning of the story, and I feel like the expectation is that inner dialogue that we get from Luke High is supposed to carry us forward to the end of the story and make it feel satisfying when Luke High comes in to save the day. But like, it doesn't. It's just like not enough. Like, I wanted Like, if you're going to, like, replace Ripley with, like, a handful of badass female protagonists, which is what this book is attempting to do, first of all, make one of them the protagonist. Don't make Corporal Hicks the fucking protagonist. It's just... Anyway, that's, like, number one. Number two is, like, you have to, like, make me like them. Like, the one fucking, like, female character in this story that they really build us up enough to like is the character, shit. I forgot her name because that's, like, how much I, didn't like her. Or at least that's how much, that's how not memorable she was as a protagonist. Spence. The character's name is Spence. The female protagonist in this story, like a POV character that we grow to like a lot, is Spence. And the only reason we even grow to like Spence as a character is because she is the love interest of a character who we really like, who gets killed off at the beginning of the fucking story. So, like, we're introduced to a really fun character that we like a lot. We like him a lot because he's interesting and he's jaded. He's just, like, early 20s. I just found out that working for a living sucks ass and I don't get to spend enough time with my sexy girlfriend, and I get woken up on my days off and called in. We like him a lot just because of the way he is, but then he gets killed off and we're left with Spence, his beautiful sexy girlfriend, and it's just like, could we just get introduced to the beautiful sexy girlfriend first as a POV character, like, instead of, like, making Charles A. Tooley, the POV character, and then you kill him immediately. Like, I guess it's supposed to be interesting because it's, like, one of those things where it's just like, oh, a character you really like just got killed off, but, like, I liked Tooley better than I liked Spence. And then they sort of set it up as, like, Spence is a potential love interest for Corporal Hicks, and so it's kind of like, why? Nothing happens, but, like, it's definitely, like, explicit that that's what Corporal Hicks is thinking about. Like, he's just like, you know, if we weren't in a life or death situation right now, we would, you know, I'd probably ask her out, you know? And it's just like, you know, this book is supposed to take place, like, you know, a handful of years after the events on LV 426, and in the second movie, Aliens, there's definitely sort of a nuclear family dynamic, hate it or love it, that gets established between Newt as the baby and Ripley as mama and Hicks as dada. And that's, like, what gets established in the story. And then to, like, throw it away and be like, oh, actually, Hicks just gets, like, attracted to strong female protagonists wherever he goes, kind of, like, ruined that dynamic for me in the second movie, the second installment of the series, which is supposed to be, you know, the prequel to this, essentially. Besides the character stuff that I'm upset about, with Spence being, you know, a sad half-assed replacement for Ripley, and Hicks being not the best main character. He's a supporting character. He always will be. I'm sorry, like, you can't replace Ripley. And the weird capitalist socialist stuff that I thought could have been good if they had just, like, explored it further instead of just using it as, like, haha, people are worried about capitalism versus socialism, I'm going to capitalize on that in order to sell my script. Cold War shit. There was also, like, a overarching plot thing that bothered me. This has implications for the entire story about xenomorphs. And I get it. I get that, like, you know, Prometheus and Covenant has come out, and we're getting these, like, prequels that are coming out as TV shows soon. And basically most of the things we really like about xenomorphs are getting rewritten, essentially. But besides that, this story is building directly from Aliens, movie number 2, And in that movie, the boss battle is between Ripley Mama protecting baby Newt versus Queen Xenomorph Mama protecting her eggs. And they go at it battling to the death, a survivor battle, because one of them has to die in order for the other to live, you know? Like, it's like a revenge thing for the queen, because Ripley just torched the shit out of all those eggs when she saved Newt from the reactor before it exploded. That's what happened in Aliens, the movie. And it just feels really stupid, because in this story, one of the things that they keep hammering on and on about is that like, you know, the aliens are this perfect life form because they don't actually have like desires. They don't have survival instincts. They don't have survival instincts. They are just trying to kill. They're not trying to live. They don't care about pain or suffering. They are trying to live. They don't care about, you know, reproducing. They're just going to adapt and figure out how to kill as many humans as possible. Like, that is like their prime directive because of where xenomorphs come from, essentially. The goo. And I get that, but like, that goes against everything that was cool about xenomorphs in the second movie, because in the second movie it was so clear that the queen was trying to protect her babies and angry that she failed at protecting her babies, and so that's why she came after Ripley. It was like a revenge thing. Like, she cared about her babies so much that she came after Ripley for that, you know? Like, and that was like one of the coolest things about that story, was it was like mother versus mother, and it was like this, you know, instinctual protective battle between mothers trying to protect their young. And I feel like this book ruins that by saying like, oh, actually the aliens don't care about reproducing. They don't really care about, you know, anything except for killing. They don't have survival instincts, really. They don't suffer. And it's just like, I don't know. It seemed like the queen really suffered when Ripley torched the eggs that were surrounding her. It seemed like the queen was in pain, like, emotionally when that happened. Like, she got angry. Like she had some emotions about watching Ripley kill her children. So, I don't know. That really bothered me. And I just wish that, you know, the story had, even if like the aliens are changing and they're growing as a species and they're not the same aliens that we knew in Aliens, because, you know, they change so rapidly, and, you know, we're never going to get the same aliens that we had in Aliens. Even given all those things, at least like respect the story of the second movie, you know, because like, that's the reason why everybody likes this fucking story, is because of Aliens, the second movie. Like, that's why people like this story. I'm sorry. And at least, like, respect that story, acknowledge it, and be like, yeah, that's how aliens used to be. Now they've evolved. They're different. They don't actually care about their young. They have changed reproducing to a different form. They have adapted. So now a Ripley can't come in and torch all the eggs, because they don't need the eggs to reproduce anymore. That would have been cool if we just had this acknowledgement of like the aliens from the second movie being different than the aliens now. You know, like if we just had like a concrete, like, you know, I know you really like the aliens from this movie, but the aliens are a little different now. Especially since we have like a character who was there. We know Hicks understood the aliens from the second movie. So like, if it would have been a perfect opportunity to explain that the aliens have lost their motherly instincts and they're no longer interested in being mothers. I don't know. I think that would have been a great character moment where Hicks is like forced to grapple with like everything he learned about the aliens in his first encounter with aliens. is now pushed aside and it's a completely different playing field. Like, that would have been interesting. Instead, it's sort of like, it doesn't really come up. Like, Hicks is just always in survival mode or thinking about Spence being a badass mode. And, like, it just doesn't feel like we ever get to confront the stuff that happened in the second movie in a way that makes people who liked the second movie feel good. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, so what I'm saying is like the fan service that exists in this book is inadequate. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, like, you gotta really, like if you're gonna market this as like the better Alien 3 movie, the one that was never made because, you know, it was too good, like, make it too good then. Make it too good to be a movie. Like, honestly, I like the movie that they made for Alien 3. I like that better than I like this book. This book, I'm actually glad that they didn't make this a movie. Like, you know, I haven't read the script, so I don't know. Maybe the script actually is really good, and the writing of the novel just didn't really, like, convey it well enough, which I doubt. I really doubt that that's what happened, because it seems like the bones of the story are lacking something. I'm glad that they didn't make this fucking movie. That's all I'm trying to say. I will read the graphic novel if someone sends me a link of how to download it illegally from the internet or whatever, you know. But I'm not going to go out on my own and read this fucking story again in a different format because it's not that interesting. Like, it's not what I wanted. Like, I was promised an Alien 3 that was going to be better than the movie that was made. And it's not. It just fundamentally isn't. And maybe I'm biased because I actually liked the third movie. I actually liked all the versions of the third movie that I've seen. I know one of them is better, but I can never remember which one is the good one. So I've always just, like, been like, let's watch the director's cut today. And when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one. You know, like, I'm always surprised by Alien 3. The movie, but I'm never disappointed by it. Like, and I was slightly disappointed by this story. One more thing before I go. We're gonna do the thing that I do on this channel, and we're going to taste some beverages. We're gonna sample some beverages because I think it calls for it. One moment. We're going to have some Punjabi whiskey. Because why not? That's a healthy pour. Cheers, my friends. As you can see, I've already tested this. It's not full. I actually got it because I've gotten really into making Manhattans recently, and I really just enjoy a good Manhattan. I'm a fancy bitch, but sometimes I also just like to drink rye whiskey plain, and I'm really just, you know, in a state of giggly joy when I see this amazing label, Punjabi Club Rye Whiskey, and it's bottled in Wisconsin. You know, it's just like a interesting thing that I know nothing about because I refuse to Google anything or put any effort or research at all into the things I like. I just want to consume and enjoy like a good capitalist should. That reminds me, okay, the thing about this story that I think could have made it more enjoyable for me is if they just made the socialists versus capitalists part of the story bigger and more meaningful and interesting instead of sort of just like a woohoo pop culture reference. Like, it really just felt like a pop culture reference. Like, the most that they were trying to say about socialism versus capitalism is like, well, both have their flaws, and there's like greed and avarice involved in both of them. And that's why both the socialist and the capitalist station get overrun by aliens, and there's almost no survivors because you can't really extricate greed from human civilization. And I just, if that's what's trying to be said by this story, I just fundamentally disagree. I just think that that's not true. And I just think that they could have said it in a more nuanced way that didn't feel like so plain and like primary color version of like the truth. That's what it feels like. It felt like a cartoonish oversimplification of like this binary concept between socialists and capitalists. I don't know. It felt very like black and white to me, where I feel like life is shades of gray. Okay. Life is shades of gray. I'm burning. Do I want to say anything else about this story? I don't know. I forgot to review the beverage. I haven't tried enough rye whiskeys to be able to like differentiate them because like, I'm poor. But like I like it. I think it's a fine whiskey, and I'm drinking it out of the wrong glass. As usual, that's all I can think about is the glass I'm drinking it out of. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you. Thank you for watching.